Hi everyone, and today's lore episode is about Anakin Skywalker's Podracer. Now, by the time he was discovered by Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin had built and rebuilt many marvels, including a functioning protocol droid. His pride and joy, however, was his Podracer. Now, the core of the racer was a pair of Radon Ulza 620C engines. Watto, Anakin's owner, had declared the engines worthless, burnt out rubbish when he first got them. Anakin disposed of them as requested, to the back of his home. From the two wrecked hulks, Anakin managed to salvage one engine and the skeleton of another. He bartered for another engine of the same type from Jawas visiting Mos Espa, and so completed the second Radon Ulza. To these, Anakin added more salvage parts. Two turbines that were the only salvageable parts left from Watto's Podracer. Now, Anakin had crashed it racing against Sebulba when the despicable Doug had used an illegal flame emitter to burn out Watto's Podracer's engines. Now, the turbines powered an 8-stage fuel compression system that, when coupled with the fuel injectors Anakin designed himself, atomized the tritium power fluid fuel, which was pre-mixed with injectorant, and distributed it evenly to the igniters. The result was a hugely fuel-efficient system that gave the Podracer incredible speed for its size, over 940 km an hour on the straights. Now, travelling faster than pretty much any other Podracer ever built was all fine and well, but without good control mechanisms, it was a sure way to end up as a dark smear on a canyon wall. The engines themselves were fitted with thrust stabilizer cones at the rear to smooth out the flight. Now, each of these was surrounded by thrust rings, which further tuned to the outflow of energy that powered the pod forward. At the front of each engine was a 3-pronged air scoop assembly, painted a lurid yellow. By trimming engine output, repulsive balance, and through use of the air scoops, Anakin had incredible control over his pod. He could even completely roll it over and not lose control. This agility was essential to the survival of both pilot and racer, as most other pod racers at the time were heavy and huge, all the better to ram their opponents off track and into the scenery. After the race, Anakin sold his pod racer, but who bought it was to be a surprise to rival the Bunta Eve result. Now, while commentator Fodas Embiid Anoju was presenting the Fode and Embiid show immediately after the Bunta Eve Classic, the Troy cheekily commented that it was unlikely that Sebulba would race on Malastare. At that point, Sebulba burst into the studio to announce that he would compete, and with his new Podracer, the one Anakin Skywalker had just won the Bunta Eve with, and that he had bought fair and square. Now, at the Winter Harvest Classic on Malastare, Sebulba showed off the repainted Podracer and easily won his qualifiers. Just before the final race, he demonstrated that he'd made a few modifications of his own to Anakin's pod. Mocked by Team Pagalis, the Doug used the hidden flame emitter to flash burn his opponent in the back. During the final of the Winter Harvest Classic on Malastare, while Sebulba was easily winning with Anakin's former Podracer, the Doug was caught up in a battle between Jedi and forces trying to disrupt peace negotiations involving the rulers of Lannick and the terrorist group Red Yarrow. An attempt on the lives of 3 of the Jedi delegation ended up with them hanging from Sebulba's pod, which was barely slowed. A little later, one of the Red Yarrow tried to escape the Jedi using a jetpack and was sucked into Sebulba's engines. However, so well constructed were they that Sebulba was still able to finish the race in first place. Anakin Skywalker, when Anakin Skywalker was piloting his Podracer in the Bunta Eve Classic, he did so from a small cockpit in the pod that trailed behind the 2 massive engines, as we all know. And the pod was a little over 3 meters in length and was open to the air, with only a curved windscreen to deflect the dust and sand kicked up by high-speed racing. Now, its cockpit housed all the controls for the Podracer, handling the engine temperature and igniters through switches on the dashboard, and guiding the Stelton control cables through 2 stubby piloting yokes. Now, the cockpit was mostly unpainted, showing off the bright silver metal of its frame, although C-3PO arranged for R2-D2 to paint a series of vertical blue stripes and add Anakin's X-shaped pennant symbol to the front. Now, Skywalker's precocious technical skill allowed him to come up with a clever new design of fuel atomizer. And together with multiple igniters, this was capable of injecting more fuel mixture into the engines than normal, boosting the thrust they generated. Now, Skywalker's modifications ensured that every drop of liquid fuel turned into pure speed, but because of the nature of his engine adjustments, the two Raiden Ulzar 620Cs flooded quite easily and sometimes malfunctioned. Now, the vehicle's telemetry computers had to monitor the temperature and pressure algorithms to maintain a delicate balance, leaving Anakin to concentrate on controlling the racer. And that is pretty much Anakin Skywalker's Podracer, and a bit of history as to who bought it and what happened to it afterwards. And so if you like the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to support the channel and keep up to date with my latest videos. Leave a comment or two, let me know what you thought of the video, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Later.